Hey guys, we are here to start multiplying some fractions. And let's look how we do that. So we have 3/4 times 1/2. Let's talk about why you might do this. Let's say you've grown up and you are designing parks, and your park is going to be 3/4 of a mile on this side. And on this side, it's going to be 1 mile. But of that 1 mile, you want to know that about half of that is going to be made of like fields, like soccer fields, play fields. And you want to know how much of your park you should make into a field. How much grass seed you should buy, where you should draw the lines for the soccer field, all that stuff. So one more time to make sure it's clear. Park is about 3/4 of a mile long, so here's 1 mile, but your park stops at 3/4. And of that 3/4, half of it, only half of that 3/4 is going to be made into fields, into play fields. And we want to find out what fraction of our park that is for planning purposes. So first thing you do is you take that 1 mile, and I only keep 3/4 of it. So I've got 4 sections. You can see where I broke it into 4 sections. And I am only going to shade 3 of them. 1, 2, 3. So this right here is 3/4. Okay, here's the size of my park right here. Of that 3/4, I want to make half of it into fields. So I need to take each of my fourths and cut them in half. And here it is right here. Cut it in half. Of those halves, what do I keep? 1. So I'm only keeping 1 of my halves. 1 of these 2 halves. 1 of these 2 halves. And this shows me what fraction of my park is going to be playfields. Well, first, let's see what fraction that is. I have a different size piece now. These are no longer fourths. There's more than 4 pieces. And they're not halves. There's more than 2 pieces. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I've got 8 pieces. So my piece size is 8. I'm going to fill that in here. So my piece size is 8. And let's see how many of those pieces I have. Well, I only shaded 1 out of every 2 of these 3/4 that I had. So there's 1 piece, 1 out of these 2. There's 2 pieces, 1 out of these 2. There's 3 pieces, 1 out of these 2. That gives me 3 pieces. So my answer is 3/8. I want you to see the visual model so you understand what you're doing. And you will today have to use a visual model for your work. But in the long term, we won't use this visual model. We will do a shorter way. We'll do this algorithm. And let's do that now. I had 3/4. You can see it right there. Times 1/2. Right here. Equals 3/8. And let's talk about why that happened. Here, I had 3 pieces. 1, 2, 3 pieces. Okay. The number of times I had them is 1 time. So let's look at it right here. 1, 2, 3 pieces. You can see the 3 right here. 3 pieces. How many times did I have those pieces? 1. 1 time. So 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 1 is 3. Now let's look, what is the size of my pieces? Well, at first, they were fourths. I had 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces. There's 1, 2, 3. I had 4 pieces. But I split each of those in half. And that gave me 8 pieces. Because I had 4 pieces, 1, 2, 3, 4, split in half. So I have 4 times 2. 4 times 2 is 8. And so you can see the algorithm, the faster way to do this is just to know that 3 times 1 is 3. 4 times 2 is 8. 3/8. And you're done. Let's do another one. Let's say this time we are designing a laptop. We're designing a computer. And we know that our computer is going to have a certain proportion of it that is covered with, let's say, the keyboard. Okay. So let's say of my whole laptop, okay, here's the screen, keyboard, everything. Of that whole laptop, if it lays flat, here's the whole thing. I'm going to say that 1/4 of it is taken up by keyboard. So I need to make fourths. There's half. Half of my halves. Now I've got fourths. Okay. I want 1/4. So let's go ahead and do that. 1/4. So I'm going to shade this section right here. Okay, that much of my laptop is going to be taken up by keyboard, 1/4 of it. Now, that keyboard's not going to go all the way across. It's only going to go 2/3 of the length of that laptop across. So we're going to take that 1/4 and we're going to split it into thirds. So let's make thirds. That means 2 lines, gives me 3 sections. Okay? Because I knew I wanted thirds. How many of those thirds do I want? 2. So let's shade in 2. 1, 2. And we're done. So now we know the fraction of the laptop that will be taken up by a keyboard. And let's see what that is. My new piece size altogether, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, is 12. So I've got 12ths. How many of them do I have? 2. 2 12ths. There's your answer. 2 12ths. Now, let's go ahead and do that with our algorithm. And in real life, the keyboard would be, I think, a larger number than this, a higher percentage, a larger fraction of your laptop. But this is just to give some context, a story to our problem. But let's look at that algorithm. Let's go ahead and take 1/4 times 2/3. All right, let's start here with our numerators. Here we had 1 piece. Here we had 2 pieces. And so you actually have 1 times 2. To get your total number of pieces, 1 times 2 is 2. Now, let's look at the number of pieces we have. We had 4 pieces this way. So we had 4 pieces. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. But we cut all of those pieces into thirds. So we have 4 pieces times 3, which is 12. You can also say 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we've got 12 pieces. 2 12ths, and you're done. That is the algorithm. Let's do 2 more examples to make sure we're very clear. A little more difficult to work with. Let's say we have 2/3 times 3/4. So again, I'm going to make thirds. There's my 1 whole. I'm going to make it into 3 pieces. 3 pieces. Of those, I'm going to shade 2. Here we go, shading 2. There's 2/3. How many times am I going to have that 2/3? 3/4. So I'm going to take those 2/3 and I'm going to split them into fourths. Now they're in halves. Now they're in fourths. Of those fourths, I'm going to keep 3. So again, I've got fourths. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm keeping 3 of those fourths. 3 of them. Let's do that. 1, 2, 3 out of 4. 1, 2, 3 out of 4. And we're done. Let's see what we got. Altogether, I have used 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces. And how many pieces altogether? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Which is also 1/2. 6 12ths. Now, let's look at another way to think of that. If we look at our algorithm, 2/3 times 3/4. Here I have 2 pieces times 3, right here. Looking at our numerators, 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times 3 is 6. 3 times 4, here I've got 3 total pieces in my denominator, and I've got 4 pieces here in my denominator. 3 rows of 4. 3 times 4 is 12, or 1/2. Last example. 1/5 times 2/3. So let's make our whole. We need fifths, so 4 lines. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we are going to keep 1/5. Okay, so we've got 1 piece out of 5. Up here we have 2/3. So we need to make our pieces into thirds. We are going to keep 2 of those. 1, 2 out of 3. And let's see what that gives us. I have 2 pieces. And the total number of pieces I have for my denominator, 5 times 3, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 5, 10, 15 is 15. 2/15. Let's solve that now with an algorithm. 1/5 times 2/3. Now let's look at it. 1 times 2 is 2. 5 times 3, 5 times 3, 5 times 3 is 15. And you're done. 2/15. That's all. Bye.